Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negative mindsets so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches you want in life. Join us here live every Tuesday at noon Eastern and dialogue with us at 818-572-2910. You can also chat with us at Blog Talk Radio /SheddingTheBitch or share your stories on our website at sheddingthebitch.com. Whatever the bitch is that's holding you back from living your life to the fullest, it's not worth giving up the riches in life that you deserve. So call in now and let Bernadette Boas know what's holding you back. 818-572-2910.
Good day, everyone. How are you on this wonderful Tuesday in November? Do you believe it? I mean, we've been in it for now, 2 full weeks? And yet at the same time, I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that next week we're celebrating Thanksgiving and all hell will break loose when it comes to the holidays. And that's very appropriate for what we're going to talk about today, shedding the chaos of time. I don't know about you, but even as we turned from Halloween into November, all of a sudden that anxiety of whether or not I was going to get done everything I needed to get done before Thanksgiving, before people started disappearing from a work perspective, before family members would show up, that kind of thing. And I'm sure you're feeling that same type of pressure. So today we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, just a shout out to everyone out in LA last week at the Scripted event. Joel and his team at Scripted, at actually Brunico is his marketing company that supports the Scripted event. It was fabulous. And the executives and fellow creatives that made the whole event a great turnout, as well as great confirmation, validation, assurance that the things that I'm working on, the things that they are working on as it pertains to our film and television projects are what's the word I'm looking for? I'm lost. I'm a writer. I'm not supposed to be lost in words. But they're the right things that we should be working on, and we just need to continue moving forward. We need to continue really getting people on board and part of our teams and getting it out there. And all of you know that between Shedding the Bitch, Confessions of a Corporate Bitch, and all the things that we're doing within the community, we certainly will continue to kind of beat the drum, beat your drum, beat the community's drum in order to ensure that we're all working to shift to riches in our career, business, and life. So thank you to everyone out in the community who was supporting me all this year and into that event and beyond. I so appreciate it. It was a fabulous week and just a great experience overall. And I loved meeting the hundreds of people that were there. It was actually an intimate group, but it was fabulous meeting everyone and kind of understanding what they're all working on as well. I also want to do a shout out to all of those #MeToos. I'm quite impressed and I feel proud that so many are stepping up. Actually, me, as well as courage, to also put things out there, speaking of my own Me Too experiences. And so congratulations and kudos to all of you who are using this opportunity to kind of find your voice and use your voice for change as it comes to sexual abuse, harassment, bullying, whatever the case might be. And for those of you who might be a Me Too and yet haven't found that opportunity, let alone that courage maybe, all I would say to you is to dig deep and be easy on yourself, to have the right time and place that you want to speak your truth, as they say, or to share your story, or to confirm your Me Too. And to those of you who aren't a Me Too, congratulations. You should be very happy that you're not in that one clique. At the same time, and I voice this very strongly online, verbally, and in writing, if you're not a Me Too, please stay out of the conversation, other than to lift up and give support and encouragement to those that are wanting to share their story and dig deep and feel the pain, feel the bitches, as we call them here in the Shed and the Bitch community. However, any of you who haven't experienced a Me Too situation and you are all of a sudden making judgments and placing blame, shut up. That's all I got to say is shut up. If you don't know what these individuals, male or female, are going through 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, as some people are coming forward and expressing, then mind your own business and trust that people don't make up stories of harassment, let alone sexual abuse. It's just, yes, there are a few bad eggs out there that just want the attention. It's not the type of attention most people want. So do all of us a favor, even yourself, and just sit back and, if anything, just put a hand out of encouragement, of support, of appreciation, and maybe even of a little bit of a compassion that 9.999% of the people coming forward sharing their Me Too stories, it's the truth. And so either mind your own business or lend a hand to encourage and support and not place blame or make judgments that you know nothing about. All right? Just needed to express that. But keep your voices heard, whatever your situation, whatever your bitch is, whatever is holding you back in life. Be sure that you're finding that safe place. And I would like to think that Shedding the Bitch community is your safe haven to come verbally, in writing, whatever the case might be, to express what situation you might be dealing with, and that you feel safe to do that. And you can do that on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter. You can reach out to me personally, Bernadette Boas at sheddingthebitch.com, or you can go search for my direct contact information and reach out to me or someone within the community, and be sure you're getting the help to shed your bitches your risk. All right. I'm going to do a shout out to Deborah today. She is, if you are out during the live broadcast, please understand I'm by myself. I'm working the studio, and I'll be tweeting and Facebooking in her place afterwards. I'm not that good at multitasking. And at the same time, go out to Facebook, go out to Twitter, and just do a shout out to Deborah, hoping that she feels better, and do that directly on our Shedding the Bitch pages, and you will reach her. All right. So we'll keep her in our thoughts and our prayers that she heals quickly, especially with the holidays coming. She has kids. You would hate for her to be sick during those periods. Let's see what else. As I had mentioned, we're going to be talking about just shedding the chaos of time during this period of the holidays, as it's starting to kick in. And for many of you, it already has. And there's some of you who handle it all year long. You're shopping and you're, kind of putting gifts away, and you're making your lists, and you're prepping your festivities throughout the year, let alone for those of us, such as myself, who tend to wait till the last minute, and then we just get totally overwhelmed and get totally stressed out about how we can manage everything that we need to do in whether it's the 6 to 8 weeks of the holiday period or it's all year round. Time seems to be an issue for most of you. So I thought it would be a great time, a great episode in the schedule, so to speak, of the holiday season. We address the chaos of time and give you some tips, advice, and sometimes tough love as to how you can have a very productive and very joyful and jubilant holiday season as opposed to a stressed out one. So we're going to get into all of that. Now, we've also had some great programs in the past covering all aspects of your career, business, and life issues that you're dealing with on a regular basis. So be sure to go to sheddingthebitch.com, look for our radio channel there, and you can download any one of our many archives of shows and experts that we've had on. As well, between now and the end of the year, it's actually my favorite time during the programs, because we'll have experts on, as well as myself and you, talking about not only the holidays and the things that impact you during the holidays, good, bad, indifferent, stressful, or joyous. We'll also wrap up 2016, or I'm sorry, 2017. I'm kind of in the past and the future. And then we'll look at and get you ready for the new year, 2018. So over the next 6 to 7 weeks, we will be addressing anything and everything that you want to talk about, learn about, hear about. And you can always go to any one of our Shedding the Bitch handles on Twitter, Facebook, write to sheddingthebitch.com, to our blog. You can reach out to me, as many of you do, through LinkedIn or directly. And let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know what you want to hear about. This show is all for you. All right. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to dive into this conversation around shedding the chaos of time. I'm going to break down for you what is the real reason for any overwhelm or shedding of time. We often talk about the tactical of time. We can manage our time more effectively, and how we can schedule and prioritize and set goals and delegate, all those things. And we will talk on those things. But over the last several months, I've even experienced my own aha moment when it comes to why is time such a hard thing to control. And I've had one thing just scream out at me as to the real reason why you, as well as I, can get caught up in the chaos of time management. And then we're going to drill into the impacts that this stress, this overwhelm is having on you in all aspects of life. And then lastly, we will obviously wrap up with some tips, advice, and tough love as to what you could be doing differently in order to get a handle on your time. All right? So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll dive into this conversation.
You are listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. We are inspiring individuals around the globe to discover, confront, and shed their bitches of fear, insecurity, and negativity so they can create the riches in their career, business, and life they deserve. Be sure to check out Bernadette's book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business, available on Amazon and sheddingthebitch.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, TSR Consulting, who offers a broad range of tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. Go to tsrconsulting.com to learn more. And Parker House Virtual Services, who provides virtual assistance and social media support for small to medium-sized businesses. Email Deborah Parker at deborahparker78@gmail.com for more information. To become a sponsor or advertiser on our program, email us at mediarelations@sheddingthebitch.com. Shedding the Bitch Radio airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Be sure to go to blogtalkradio.com/Shedding the Bitch Radio and follow the program for all of the updates and announcements of our guests and show topics. Now let's return to Bernadette and Shedding the Bitch Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking shedding the chaos of time. And I'm sure, like me, you're feeling that pressure of how do you get everything done, or how do you even start to begin to prioritize and delegate and kind of manage all the balls in the air, not only just of the holidays, but just everyday life. It just seems that more and more time is getting constrained, and all of a sudden what we all have 24 hours in a day, and what seems that should be sufficient all of a sudden is looking impossible. Now, I didn't leave you with your rich question, which I want to make sure I put out there for you. So our rich question, if you're listening for the first time, we like to plant a seed in your head and in your mind and in your thought process as you're listening to the program to kind of make sure that you're really tapping in to what this message, what this discussion might be doing or might have impact on you. And so our rich question for today is really to think about the 3 things you really want to be able to spend more doing, more time working, more time playing, whatever the case might be. What are 3 things? A lot of you women, you don't take a lot of back and what's important to you. So the second part of this question that I want you to be thinking about is not only what are those 3 things, but how important are those 3 things? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very, 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 very hot importance, and 1 being not very important to me. Kind of rate each one of those 3 things that you thought of that you wanted more time to be focused on, to be working on, to be doing. Actually, I'd rather you not think about them, but even write them down. And we always talk about having a journal by your side all the time. So if you do, and or if you just have a notebook, just scribble them down on a piece of paper and then put that rating of 1 to 10 next to each one of them. Because again, if you see it in black and white, it becomes more relevant and more important to you than just letting it swirl around in your head. All right, so those are your rich questions. You can hashtag with us during the program or after, because many of you listen to the program from our podcast. And so you can hashtag with us at, what did we come up with? Quiet the chaos. Hashtag quiet the chaos. And then, of course, shed the bitch. Hashtag shed the bitch. And though Deborah's not with us today, she'll be back, and she'll make sure that she's getting out there back on Twitter and Facebook to see your conversation and your dialogue. Fair enough? All right. So, an aha moment that I had recently is that our chaos, our overwhelm, our stress when it comes to time has really nothing to do with whether or not we have goals or not written down, whether or not we have our to-do list. It really doesn't even have anything to do with whether or not we've identified how we can prioritize or delegate or even delete some of those things off of our to-do list, honey-do list, whatever you might call it. As much as I always advocate having those things in place, and we'll talk about how those things make managing your time more effective, more streamlined, more stress-free. What I had an aha moment about over the last several months, really focusing on where my time is being spent and or wasted, is I realized that it really had everything to do with what's going on in between my ears. So that self-awareness that we talk a lot about. I realize that when I start wandering, my mind starts wandering, when I start getting distracted, when I start avoiding or ignoring or purposely keeping myself busy with something else because of whatever it is that I need to be working on, or maybe not even that, but more so because of what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling. All of a sudden, it's that causes me to lose all sense of time, but all sense of activity, all effectiveness, all sense of organization, all sense of priority. I want you to be thinking about that for a little bit. When can you think of, what time in your experience or event in your life can you think of, and it could have been yesterday, it could have been this morning, could have been whatever it is that you do, all of a sudden, no matter how important you, no matter what priority you put on it, because maybe you were feeling a little bit insecure or sad or even depressed, but more so maybe you were afraid of dealing with something. Maybe it was that you were feeling overwhelmed by even just the idea of the work that needed to be done or the task or activity that needed to get done. And it wasn't whether or not you blocked out time on your schedule. Maybe you even had everybody on board around you in order for you to be able to focus on getting that task, activity, or work thing done. But what was going on in between your ears, in your heart, was causing you to avoid or be distracted or be overwhelmed. And so what I realized is those things don't come into play when I'm really operating from what's going on right now at this moment in time, present, self-aware, and grounded in what this event, experience, situation is meaning to everything else that's going on around me. So what I'm trying to say is, when I realize that if I can really focus my head and my heart on what is going on right now in this moment in time, even as I'm speaking with you, and I'm not allowing myself to think about what needs to come up in a minute from now or an hour from now or tomorrow or next week, and I'm not allowing myself to get distracted about whether or not, there's errands to be done after work, or that the family's coming for the holidays, or that my workload, needs to get minimized if I'm going to be able to take any time off for the holiday. Can you relate to any of that? If I can simply sit right here, right now, and I'm sitting in front of not only a microphone and my laptop, but also a camera videotaping this. If I can only focus on right now at this moment in time, then I'm not getting distracted and getting overwhelmed and getting stressed. I'm really just appreciating and taking the time to be very present and very aware of what I'm doing at this very moment in time. Now, when I realized this, I then needed to go off and start focusing and paying attention to what happens when all of a sudden this moment in time of what I'm doing gets kind of detoured or gets totally, distracted or distorted from where I am at this very moment. And I realized that the moment I allowed myself to start thinking about what happened yesterday, or what happened last week in LA, or what I need to do tomorrow, or by the end of the week, that's what then all of a sudden I start feeling and start kind of getting all worked up about and getting stressed. And my heart, I can immediately feel it starting to beat a little bit better. And then I realize and say to myself, wait. I have to yesterday, it's gone, and I have to postpone thinking of now in this moment in time doing X. In this case, to you and making sure that the message that we want to get across today is accomplished. But I can't even worry about that, about what I might say next in the next minute, in the next 5 minutes, in the next segment of our conversation. I can really only just make sure that I'm focused on right now at this moment in time. And when I start really thinking about it, and I challenge you as you're listening to this right now, I challenge you to just listen and hear my voice and put aside and put away anything else that's going on around you, but within yourself, not necessarily what's going on externally, but just say to yourself, I'm just going to focus right now on listening to this conversation with Bernadette, and I'm not going to be thinking about what happened this morning, yesterday, or what needs to go on this afternoon or tomorrow. And just kind of acknowledge and recognize and tap into what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And it's calm, it's satisfying, it's contentment, because I'm not getting all worked up about yesterday or tomorrow. I'm just simply being and existing. And for the past several weeks, past actually couple of months, I really have been consciously aware of my own self-awareness and ensuring that when I start wandering, I can pull myself back in. So I started sharing this and having conversations with people as I kind of meet up with them. Right now, there's a friend that's here in the studio with me, and I kind of mentioned it to him and basically said, so, what happens to you, or what do you feel your state of mind is when you start getting kind of distracted, or you start avoiding or ignoring kind of what's going on around you? And he kind of like looked at me as if I had 10 heads at first, but then all of a sudden he acknowledged, well, it's when I start really, letting my mind wander to the past or into the future. And there's a saying that says, if you're always thinking in the past, you're sad or depressed. If you're always living in the future or thinking about the future, you're all stressed and anxious. But if you're living right now in the present at this very moment in time, you're most likely peaceful and contented. So I would challenge you to put aside what you might be telling yourself about time. Put aside that you might tell yourself, oh, I never have enough time, or I'm running out of time. Instead of those kind of statements to yourself, just talk to yourself about being right here, right now in this moment, and kind of really focus on just, and then tap into how your body, mentally, physically, and spiritually, shifts to you. That's more peaceful, that's more content, that's more at rest than when you're kind of outside of yourself and you're allowing external and internal forces to kind of manipulate you and steer you and distract you into other environments, so to speak. Make sense? Because I really, truly believe through my own practice, let alone from what I read or the conversations I have with other people, especially those that have really gained a great sense of self, a great sense of self-awareness. I've learned for myself and experienced for myself that if I only worry and concern myself about right now, about being very present, hearing, although I can't hear you, but if I'm paying attention to what I'm saying and what I might be hearing and how I might be feeling and experiencing this moment in time, then there is no anxiety, there is no stress, there is no overwhelm. It's just right now. It's just what's going on. Not now. That's not to say that whatever I might be doing isn't possibly anxiety-ridden. So if I'm having a deep conversation or I'm dealing with a conflict with someone or something, then it doesn't mean that I might get a little bit anxious. But if I'm really focusing on that moment in time and that conversation and that interaction on that situation, then it is extremely calming as opposed to anxiety-ridden. And so I just would challenge you to think about whether or not that's the case for you, as to whether or not you can experience that as well. Does that make sense? Excuse me. Excuse me. So that would be kind of my aha that I want to challenge you with is when you are overwhelmed, when you feel that you're out of time, when you are unsure of what you need to do next, or how you're going to get it all done. I just challenge you to kind of sit and get in your head, go inward to understand whether or not you can really control and change and manipulate what happened yesterday, which we all know you can't, and what's going to happen tomorrow, which, believe it or not, as much as you think you can change in whatever you're doing and whether or not you're addressing it head on or whether or not you're avoiding it and getting distracted by it, you can't control what is all of a sudden going to happen a minute from now, an hour from now, a day from now. You just can't. All you can do is influence, control, and manage what is happening right now at this very moment in time. Let me put it in context. You get a bill in the mail, and you're dealing with financial burdens, especially as the holidays coming along, and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, how much money am I going to have to spend if I have to buy gifts for kids or the family, or I committed to throwing a party, whatever the case might be. If you actually sit down and think right now at this moment in time of how you're handling that emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and the fact that right now in this moment in time you can't stress or build anxiety for yourself over that bill. What you can do is you can sit here and look at that bill and say, okay, right now at this moment in time, I'm looking at this situation that might have alert or last final notice. And all you can do is sit here and say, okay, so what can I do about this? What changes, what shifts, what things can I be doing differently than I'm doing right now at this moment in time in dealing with this? Putting it aside and avoiding it and getting distracted by it is not getting rid of that problem. It's still there. It'll be there 5 minutes from now, a day from now, a week from now. And the anticipation of that, of having to deal with that, is what is causing your stress and your overwhelm and your distraction and avoidance of a situation. As opposed to if you're sit here right now and you're looking at this document that's saying final notice, and you're simply saying, okay, so it's a final notice. What can or can I not do to address this? Now, there's a lot of solutions to every problem. It's picking up the phone and calling this company. It's looking at your bank account and your savings and your next month's paycheck and determining what you can do to contribute to solving that late notice, that final notice. You can choose to consciously at this very moment in time to put it aside. But right now, that should not be stress or anxiety for you. That should just simply be a decision-making process, very consciously, very aware, and very present as to how you're going to solve that situation for yourself. Yes, would it help to plan and set goals and prioritize and delegate and to come up with that to-do list of what it's going to take? Now, that could be what you decide to do right now in this moment in time, because are you stressed right now in this moment of time looking at this statement that says final notice? Sure. But at the same time, you're also very present in saying, okay, so what are my options in handling this situation? Or even creating an opportunity for myself. A lot of people don't only get stressed and overwhelmed by the challenges and struggles they have in life, they also get overwhelmed by all the opportunities that they need to with. And so staying present as to how you're feeling, thinking, will allow you to look at that situation, whether it's and to come up with a plan, addressing it very consciously very self-aware, and a lot of, if not all of that, stress or anxiety or overwhelm or fear or pain or sadness toward that situation will kind of seep away, because you're actually just taking control of what it is you can control, and that's what's happening right now in this moment in time. All right? Now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about time sickness. I love this. I heard this recently, and I'll talk to you about where and how I heard it and learned of it, because you can take advantage of it as well. But when we come back, we're going to talk about time sickness and the impact it's having on your world, whether you want to face it or not and do something about it. All right? So we will be right back.
You are listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. We are inspiring individuals around the globe to discover, confront, and shed their bitches of fear, insecurity, and negativity, so they can create the riches in their career, business, and life they deserve. Be sure to check out Bernadette's book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business, available on Amazon and sheddingthebitch.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, TSR Consulting, who offers a broad range of tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. Go to tsrconsulting.com to learn more. And Parker House Virtual Services, who provides virtual assistance and social media support for small to medium-sized businesses. Email Deborah Parker at deborahparker78@gmail.com for more information. To become a sponsor or advertiser on our program, email us at mediarelations@sheddingthebitch.com. Shedding the Bitch Radio airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Be sure to go to blogtalkradio.com/Shedding the Bitch Radio and follow the program for all of the updates and announcements of our guests and show topics. Now let's return to Bernadette and Shedding the Bitch Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking shedding the chaos of time. I mean, how many of you are just, especially right now, it's November 14th. You have about a week and a couple of days until Thanksgiving hits you and family hits you and all kinds of overwhelm hits you. And then, of course, we have the holidays, whatever holiday you might celebrate around the Christmas, Hanukkah time period, of course, New Year's at the end of the year. We're all about to just get hit with an extra layer of stress and overwhelm. And yet there is a way for you to handle it and manage it. And as we talk about in our Shift to Riches formula, which is so easy for you to carry around with you and just think about, it'll help you through any situation, challenge, and that is discover what that situation is about, what for you, shed it, and then move on so you can create and accelerate all the riches in life that you want. So we want to help you shed those bitches, in this case, the chaos of time, so you can create all the riches in life and through the holidays that you want. So before we took a break, we were talking about just the fact that we could talk about tools and techniques and tactics for managing your time more effectively. Yet, even if you were to have a set of goals and you were to have your priorities and you were to have your to-do list and you were going and planning that out every Sunday night, Monday morning as we kind of talk about, and then you're going and Monday morning, like yesterday morning, today's Tuesday, yesterday morning, I sat down at my desk, had all my lovely tools and techniques and my goal plan all laid out in front of me. And yet, how you show up to that list, to that expectation, to that dream, and to that goal is really going to determine whether or not you accomplish it. So if you show up and you've planned it out, you've organized it, you've time blocked it, you've told your family and friends all about it, and you have them on board with it. But if you show up and you're depressed or stressed, maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, maybe you're anxious about what's going to happen and whether or not you're going to be ready for the Thanksgiving holiday, whether or not your boss or your own business has a great expectation for how this month, how the year is going to wrap up. If you come to your plan, as beautiful as it might be, and you're distracted before you even get started, then you're going to all of a sudden find yourself saying that, oh my gosh, you don't have enough time, or time's gotten away from me, or there's just too much to do. And the next thing you know, you don't get anything done. So what we're trying to talk about today is, as opposed to, yes, I can give you tons of techniques and tools to use, and I will before we wrap up the program, the discussion, but until you get really a handle on how to be and how to use your presence in this very moment in time, to be self-aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling and how you're responding to the situations and to the environment around you, until you really get grounded in living for now versus living in the past or living in the future, that is always going to create chaos in your day, in your week, in your month, in your year, in your time. So what we discussed at the top of the hour is how can you really be focused, and how can you really train yourself to stay very present, very in this moment. And I'll be honest with you, even just months ago, all the talk about being present and aware and for the now, a bunch of hogwash. Seriously. And then I just started really paying attention to those words, those messages, those affirmations, those stories, and my own experiences of when I did get grounded on being very aware of how I'm showing up at any specific point in time. I all of a sudden realized I can control the outcome. Yes, if you were to wake up yesterday morning and you were tired, you didn't get enough sleep, you have a choice. The moment you opened up your eyes, the moment I opened up my eyes, I have a choice. I can say, oh my gosh, I can sense that I'm groggy and that I'm a little agitated. Maybe Charlie's already barking to go out and I'm not even, with my feet on the ground yet. And I can, at that moment in time, tap into how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, how I'm existing. And I can choose to shift at that very moment in time. And that helps me to then influence whether or not I go out in the world on a high, or whether or not I choose to live in that low that I might be feeling, and therefore everything around me seems low and seems stressed and seems anxious and seems maybe even sad. I'm never depressed, but maybe sad. So what we want to do is we want to stay conscious of living in the now. And if you find that corny like I did months ago, all I would kind of challenge you to do is to do it for a day, even 2 days. Just really focus on what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and where you're at any moment in time during the day. And you'll find yourself where it's hard and uncomfortable, because the second you do, all of a sudden something comes up. It's like, that squirrel. But I challenge you just to kind of keep forcing yourself, keep shifting yourself, keep being very conscious of, what is happening inside your 2 ears, and that is causing you to stray, and then bring yourself back and just live in this very moment in time. And all of a sudden, you have shed that chaos of time, because time doesn't exist at that moment. It's just now. It's just time, time kind of goes away. There is no overwhelm. There is no too much to do. It's what you're doing right now and the choices that you're making and the way that you're showing up and what choices you are making. I had to repeat that because I thought it was important. So that's kind of what we talked about at the top of the hour, where I'd like you to be thinking about right now. And your rich question was all around, what are those 3 things you want to be doing and spending more time doing or working on? And rating 1 to 10, how important are those 3 things to you? Because again, that importance and those things, if you think about them right now in this moment in time of what you could be doing to manage how you're showing up and what you're allowing to impact you positively or negatively, you're going to be in the now, even addressing and doing those 1 to 3 things that you deemed important. Okay? Now that said, time sickness. This is a concept. I've mentioned these meditation experiences that I do with Oprah Winfrey. I don't need to use her last name, but Oprah and Deepak Chopra. So if you go to ChopraMeditationCenter.com, you'll find the current present experience, 21-day experience that they have going on right now. And it's free. It's free to you. We're about 14 days in, so you'll have a challenge in being able to listen and experience days 1 through, I think, 13. However, in one of the recent meditations, they talked about time sickness, just the impact, the stress, the overwhelm, the burden we put on ourselves when we tell ourselves that we don't have enough time, or time is running out, or this is my last shot, my last opportunity to do or achieve whatever that might be. Those negative statements, those negative affirmations that we tell ourselves are really creating what Deepak and Oprah called time sickness, that physical, emotional, spiritual, mental strain on our lives. And we all know and we all hear all the time that stress is like the number 1 killer, the number 1 cause of heart attacks or strokes or other burdens, other physical ailments. So if we know that to be true, then it's a matter of really believing it in order for us to recognize that, you know what, I don't want to be burdened. I don't want to be ailed. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to even, God forbid, die, have a heart attack, have a stroke. Nothing is worth that, right? Now, if you believe that, and if that is truly, what you don't want, well, then the way to overcome that is to find a way to manage and shed that chaos that you're only putting on yourself. Now, so let's talk about how you're putting that on yourself, even beyond the self-awareness, beyond the fact that you're not living in the present. It comes down to also the fact that in most cases, you're allowing other people's priorities and commitments and obligations and just their lives to impact you. The reason why most people do that and allow that to happen is because they really don't understand their own personal time profile, as they'll discuss. Personal time profile, I found that to be very interesting. And it's just a different title for what we've talked about in the past, and that is really understanding how do we respond to our obligations, our commitments, our priorities, our goals, our dreams, our wants. You understand that, and you really pay attention to that and recognize and that will know and create your own time. And so I loved how summarize that or categorize that. It was no different than what we called our own rich plan, your own individual rich plan. But let's look at it as a personal time profile. Have you ever really sat down to say to yourself, how do you manage time? What's important to you when it comes to time? How do you like to be managed? How do you like to be delegated to? How do you like to execute what it is that you need to do in any given day? So, for instance, you could start with from the very moment of time in the day. You could say, okay, so what's my profile when it comes to when I wake up, why I wake up at a particular time, what I want to get accomplished as a result of waking up at that particular time. How do I want to operate as far as managing the family, getting the kids out to school or out to their sports or their activities, or my spouse partner out to their, kind of their own use of time. How do you want to, what's important to you as far as how you want to run the household, whether or not you're single, married, family, kids, whatever. It's important to you to sit down with your family, and it's important that it happens at 6. It's important for me to get an hour of downtime in the day. And, the most effective time for that to happen is after work between 6 and 7. And then it's important for me to get 8 hours, 9 hours sleep. So it's important for me to be in bed by 10. So have you ever really thought about what your personal time profile is and what's important to you? Now, the next thing that's really key to make that profile work and for you to shed your chaos of time is to appreciate other people's profiles of time. So if you're an early bird and your mate or your boss or your family member are night owls, or if they're more fluid and more ad hoc in how they go about their day, and you're very strict, or you're very planned out and organized and procedural, well, those two things, those opposites, are definitely going to beat up against each other, and that's where your stress and your overwhelm is coming from and where it's going to come from. Until you've taken your personal profile, prioritize it as important, believing that everything that your goals, your dreams that you want to accomplish are important to you, then it's a matter of just having that dialogue and that conversation and setting those expectations with those around you, whether it is your family, friends, your boss, your community, and figuring out and working on how those differences can complement and work with each other. Until that actually happens, that could be the core reason, beyond whether or not you're really aware and present and allowing you to exist in the now versus in yesterday or tomorrow. The next thing would be, as Deepak calls profile, is not understood. So that is one way that you can immediately manage and control how you operate and how your time is spent, by understanding what your personal time profile is and then communicating and working with those around you that could impact it in order to ensure that everyone is going to benefit and be supported in how they want to kind of show up and operate and execute their life. Make sense? Because if not, then the time sickness will seep in, and you'll just be stressed and overwhelmed and feel insecure and be beating yourself up because you're not able to do and accomplish what it is that you want and or you feel you're obligated to do. All right? Make sense? Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm going to wrap up with some tips, advice, a little bit of tough love in order for you to really be able to shed the chaos of time and have a joyous and fun-filled holiday season, as well as just any day and every day of the year. All right, we'll be right back.
You are listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. We are inspiring individuals around the globe to discover, confront, and shed their bitches of fear, insecurity, and negativity so they can create the riches in their career, business, and life they deserve. Be sure to check out Bernadette's book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business, available on Amazon and sheddingthebitch.com. We also want to thank our sponsors, TSR Consulting, who offers a broad range of tax services for small to corporate-sized clients. Go to tsrconsulting.com to learn more. And Parker House Virtual Services, who provides virtual assistance and social media support for small to medium-sized businesses. Email Deborah Parker at deborahparker78@gmail.com for more information. To become a sponsor or advertiser on our program, email us at mediarelations@sheddingthebitch.com. Shedding the Bitch Radio airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Be sure to go to blogtalkradio.com/Shedding the Bitch Radio and follow the program for all of the updates and announcements of our guests and show topics. Now let's return to Bernadette and Shedding the Bitch Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking shedding the chaos of time. Now, at the top of the hour, we talked about the one real reason that you may be dealing with chaos when it comes to just getting through the day. And it's not because there's too much to do or because there's not enough time in the day. We all have the same amount of time, and a lot of people have a lot to do, and yet some people get a lot of shit done, and some people struggle. And we talked about the fact that it's actually a question of whether or not you're now or get wrapped up in what happened yesterday or what might be happening tomorrow. So if you're just joining us, go back and listen to the top of the hour about being self-aware, about being present, about living in the now. Then we talked about the fact that you need to understand your own personal time profile in order for you to then to understand those around you so you can find a happy medium. Lastly, I just want to give you a couple of other tips and maybe a little bit of advice before we wrap up, and that is go out and find a meditation or even a yoga class that will allow you to kind of get quiet and go inward and really understand this concept that I'm talking about being very present, very aware, very now. All right? Then define that personal profile that we talked about, that personal time profile. Define it for yourself. Go and look at those 1, 2, 3 things that you really want to get done and the rating that you put on it, the 1 to 10 rating you put on it, and really come up with a plan. Yes, we're getting back to a plan as to what changes, what shifts are you willing to make in order to be able to effectively go and do those 1 to 3 things that you want so much to do, and come up with that plan and those changes that you're willing to make in order to do it. But whatever you do, find the support, find the help, find the outlet that will allow you to shed any chaos that's going on in your world so you can make this holiday season and all year round a joyous, fun-filled, and successful one. All right? So thank you so much for joining us. Shout out to Deborah. I hope you feel better, girl, and we'll have you right back here this time next week along with everyone else for another episode of Shedding the Bitch Radio. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. Join Bernadette every Tuesday at noon Eastern as she helps you shift your bitches to riches. And the dialogue is always going on at sheddingthebitch.com. See you next week.